Welcome to this episode of Athletic Training Chat. In this episode, Austin interviews Sam Atkielski, who is an athletic trainer in Wisconsin at a high school. And in this episode, they talk about Sam being part of the first Masters in Athletic Training class at UW-Milwaukee, the same one Austin is just wrapping up. Being a female in a high-level sport and just in general holding your ground as a female in athletic training. And then looking at also being the only athletic trainer at the largest high school in Wisconsin, which presents its own challenges. They also get into how to deal with your first year challenges, successes, and some things that you can look to utilize to help get through that first year of being a certified, which is its own unique challenge in trying to figure out so many things as you get going. As always, we are powered by Mueller Sports Medicine, so please give them a look as you're getting ready for all your upcoming orders for the new year. Please enjoy this episode.
Welcome to this episode of AT Chat presented by Mueller Sports Medicine. I am here with Sam. Oh, I don't know how to say your last name. I'm not even going to try. You want to say it for me?
Atkielski.
See, I would have butchered it, so I'm glad you said it for me.
You're not the only one.
Yeah. No, Sam is an athletic trainer here in Wisconsin. She was actually in the same Master's of Science program as I was. She was in the class ahead of me. She is currently finishing up her first year as a certified athletic trainer. So we thought I'd bring her on, kind of talk about her first year being certified, what she's gone through, some of the challenges that she's had, and especially right now we're kind of in a really weird time with Corona hitting everyone. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But Sam, if you just kind of want to take it away, talk about your background a little bit and how you got into athletic training.
So I originally wanted to be an athletic trainer starting in high school. I managed the boys baseball team all 4 years of high school. So I spent some time in the athletic training room, getting like med kits together for traveling and stuff like that. And I was like, hey, this is a pretty cool gig this guy's got here. Right. So my high school athletic trainer kind of introduced me to like more of what he does and stuff like that. So then I did my undergrad at UW-Oshkosh, and I originally actually got into their athletic training program there, but I also golfed in college. So they said, like both of them require a lot of hours and a lot of time commitment. So they said, like, you should really pick one or the other. It's going to be really, really hard to do both. At that time, I picked my sport, and I decided to do a undergrad in kinesiology with an emphasis in exercise and fitness. So I graduated with that degree and didn't really know what I wanted to do then. So a lot of the kids either did like the personal training, the PT route, or the OT route. So I took a gap year between undergrad and grad school and worked as a rehab aide in the hospital that I'm currently working for. So I've been with this company for a long time. But I worked as a rehab aide and kind of more shadowed like the OTs and PTs and inpatient. And I realized, as I had already been accepted to an occupational therapy school in Minnesota, that it wasn't for me. And I was like, I don't see myself doing this. I don't know why I just spent all this time on applications and money on applications. And even though I was accepted to school for occupational therapy, I was like, I can't do this for the rest of my life. And thankfully there was an physical therapy intern that was working at the hospital with me, and she's like, hey, UWM I think has like an entry level athletic training program or something like that. And I was like, really? So I applied to that, and a few months after I actually found out about it, I was starting school. So it's like I did like a full circle, like started athletic training, went to OT, went back to athletic training, And it was honestly like, if she didn't tell me that Milwaukee had this entry level program, I would probably be hating my job.
Right? No, that's awesome. So you were actually in the first MS and AT class in Milwaukee, right?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I should know that. I'm in the second, so I should definitely know that. So I guess if you kind of want to talk about that experience, maybe just cover a little bit of it, because I'll admit, even in the second year of that program, there are still some kinks that need to be worked out and some challenges. So if you kind of want to talk about what it was like making it through that first year a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So I'm not gonna lie, we were like the guinea pig class. And this is not to badmouth them at all. Like, I totally get it. Like, everyone has to be the first at something.
Right.
But we kind of, instead of looking at it as like a negative thing, we looked at it as a way to like pave the way for like the future classes. So like, if we didn't like something, we made sure that we spoke up and like, hey, this didn't work. Like, it might be better to do it this way, or hey, we really liked this. Like, make sure you guys keep doing that. And then there was the whole like Katie accreditation phase that we had to go through. So the Katie administration people came in and like sat down with us and talked with us and asked us all these questions. And I think they did that within like our first few months of being there. So we're still super new at everything.
Yeah.
But no, it was cool. There was only 4 of us in the class, so it was super small. So everyone knew everything about everyone.
Right.
But no, the professors were great. They helped you literally with like anything you needed, whether it was like athletic training or life related. But yeah, it's kind of cool to say like we were the first MSAT class of UWM.
Right. So I guess we can kind of piggyback off that a little bit. Generally, before that, most programs, you had your freshman year where it was kind of your observational year, and then you really had 3 years of athletic training education. Whereas this was pretty much all the educational stuff was pretty much jammed within that first year. Mm-hmm. So can you kind of talk about that experience? Because I know personally for myself, that first summer was all right because, you don't have a whole lot going on there. You have your clinicals, but that first fall hits, and it honestly felt like I was being hit by a train every day. It was a lot. Yep. So I guess, can you talk about kind of how you managed that, and were there any challenges that you ran into there?
So we actually made a joke. I think we actually told you guys this when you guys started. We're like, if you can make it through the first fall semester, you can make it through the program. Because like you said, that summer, I think you have like anatomy, an intro class where like you basically learn how to make a resume. Mm-hmm. And maybe one other class. I don't even remember.
I think it was like emergency care or something.
Yeah. If you can, like, summer is like getting you into it. And then that fall, if you make it through fall, you got it. Like, it's a breeze from there. But I think I'm glad that we had that right away in the fall semester, because it kind of like prepared you. Like, I'd rather you start hard and it gets easier, because then you kind of have like your awareness up of like, okay, like I need to have everything together. I need to manage my time. I need to figure out how I'm going to get all this done. Cause like, you didn't really have an option. Like, it was like, get it done or you don't move on. Like,
right.
So you just had to like prioritize, like, okay, maybe I don't need to go see my friends on a Friday or whatever. Like, I need to study for this practical, or I have to do my clinical hours. Cause like, you have to do it. Like, there's no really option rather than to just get it done.
No, definitely. For me, it was definitely an adjustment period that you were 100% right. I'll tell you that now. That first mm-hmm. semester was a bear, but once you get past that one, it was easier.
And I think it kind of sets you up for the world of athletic training, because like you're always going to have those times where you're super, super busy and like you don't know how you're going to do it. And then you're going to have times where you're like, okay, I wish I had something to do.
Yeah, no, definitely. Excuse me, Sam. I'm going to pause the recording quickly. Something came up here. 1 second. All right, we're back there. I kind of lost our train of thought. I think we were talking about kind of that first semester, making it through that.
Yeah.
But I think kind of moving on is with it, the clinical experience is different a little bit as well. And I think I was talking to some of the undergrads I had a rotation with and comparing it to them. And I know for at least me, or at least that first semester, I found pretty tough. Just because you go in that first semester, and honestly, for the most part, you don't know anything. So it's a lot of standing around and maybe putting some Band-Aids on. But
I think it's like first aid and like the basic ankle tape.
Right.
I think that's it.
Definitely. So I think it was really interesting to see how it changed, like, because everything was so accelerated for us, especially going into that second semester. But I guess going on that, for people who may not know, our program at Milwaukee, the way it's set up is that first year, so your summer, all the way through your second summer there, you have classes mixed in with clinicals. So there's a lot of balancing going on between the academic work, which is pretty high. I think it was like 16 credits in the fall and spring.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it was, I definitely broke down a couple of times on that, but then the fall and spring of your second year, it's a full-time clinical immersion. So I guess it's nice that you get everything out of the way, and you have full-time experience for almost the entire year there.
Yeah.
So I guess with that leading into, can you kind of talk about your immersion experiences? Your first one being working college football.
So I actually started my first clinical rotation at the end of June, I believe. So I actually did it from beginning of July through like the first week of January. So I did college football for a Big Ten school, and I knew, like, from the time I started athletic training, I knew I wanted to be at like that high level, like either NFL, college football, something college level or higher. So I figured, like, my clinical experience, like, I want that upper level of an athlete. So I got accepted to this program, and the first thing I thought was, like, I really don't want to deal with the cocky athletes and, like, think they're entitled to everything and that we're just there to give them water and massage their legs. But it was literally everything completely opposite of that. So the athletes were probably one of the nicest athletes I've ever worked with, very thankful for everything. And that clinical rotation honestly, like, taught me, or like, it put me in the spot I am today. Like, my mindset, my work ethic, everything. They basically, like, they treated you just like any other athletic trainer. They didn't treat you like a student. So, like, you were held responsible. So athlete walks into the athletic training room and they like, oh, my shoulder hurts. It was up to me to do that eval, come up with the treatment plan, everything. I would share that with my preceptor, and he would say, like, okay, yes, that's good, or maybe tweak some stuff here. So it was really up to me to treat that athlete, take them through their rehab, work them back into like partial practice or full practice. That clinical rotation also gave me the experience of traveling. So we traveled all the way from California to New Jersey. We did the whole coast to coast.
Yeah.
And that taught me, like, literally when you're on the road, what you have to pack, and like AT wise and personal wise. I packed multiple semi trucks and packed an entire ATR into 5 or 6 bins. And it taught me a lot of, again, time management and how much like work you have to put into something that you really like. I think we were doing like 65 to 75 hour weeks, but if you love it, then it's really not like work. I think like when we were still in summer ball, I was like, this is nuts and I don't want to do this. Right. But like once like you get used to it and you kind of like, you're like, okay, this isn't that bad. And you like get to know people and like get into your routine. It's really like, okay, yeah, I love this. And it like that, I think that is when I like figured out like, yes, okay, this is like really what I want to do.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's one thing that at least from our program, that I found really beneficial is that, yeah, your first couple semesters, you get, 250 hours maybe?
Yeah.
But then that last year, it's full on in. Because my first rotation, I worked D3 football. And
Okay.
it's not as intense, but you're still there, and it's the same expectations. You're the one that evals, you're the one that rehabs, and in some instances, might be even a little more expectations, just due to the fact that for me, there was only one certified for our football team. So you really learn how to operate independently, and you kind of figure out what you like and and how you operate. But were there any major challenges that you found working at that high level sport? Because everyone, D1 athletics is a world of its own, but especially once you get into like Power 5 football. So I guess if you want to talk a little bit about that.
So first off, the athletes are huge. So like even just like having them on a table, they're so like, to get to their shoulder, I'm like, okay, you either got to sit on the ground or I got to stand on this table. Like we got to meet in the middle. So A, they're huge. B, there's like a higher level of stress from coaches. Like they want those kids back like now. There was countless days that I was making trips down to Chicago with athletes to see like specialists and doctors and do like PRP injections and all this kind of stuff. And that's something I never got in the clinic side of it. So like the interaction with the doctors and the interprofessionalism, that was really cool. I remember my first day at the school, and they sat us down in the room and they said, there's a bill that's been passed that makes gambling legal. They said, so when you're walking from the facility across the street to the practice field, there's going to be people outside asking you questions. And they gave us this like statement that we had to memorize, and like what we would say to them, like if someone asked us a question, and basically saying like, we don't know, ask so-and-so, and basically like deferring all questions. And it just like the amount of just unbelievable amount of like press that are just sitting there watching practice. I'm like, go home. Like, why are you standing out here when it's like 100 degrees on the turf just to like get a picture of someone like that I'm stretching, or I don't know. So that was definitely an adjustment going from, I was in an ER rotation, and then I go to like this. So it's like complete opposite. So that was a big adjustment. And just like, also a lot of the kids were trying to declare for the draft, the NFL draft. So there's like pressure from that to get them back and healthy for like the recruiting days, and when like NFL coaches would come watch practice, and like, so the kids were always stressed, that coaches were always stressed, and that put the stress on us. But it honestly like made me a better athletic training student, because I think having that extra pressure, at least for me, it made me like work harder, I guess, because there was more at stake. I don't know how to explain it. It just like made me like, okay, like don't screw up.
Yeah, no, it kind of sharpens your focus when you have a lot more eyes and people a little bit more high strung there. Definitely get that. So I guess after that rotation, you went back to UW-Milwaukee and did track and field, right?
I kind of did a lot of everything.
Yeah.
A little bit of baseball, a little bit of track and field. Kind of dabbled everywhere. Yeah. Wherever they needed help.
Right. So after that, you graduated, and I guess you want to take me through kind of your path right after that. You're newly certified. Right now, I know you work for Freighter, so that's a hospital group, if anyone knows what that is. But I guess, was that your first job? Were there some before that? I guess take me through your first year a little bit.
So my first, until I landed this job, it was kind of a whirlwind. I had a few job offers that came through, and I was being picky, which is kind of selfish of me, but like they weren't going to work out. I was at a high school before I came here, and they didn't view athletic training as a full-time job. So I was being paid as a coach. So what they did was there was 4 tiers of coaching or coaching levels. And for example, like head football coach at this high school was tier 1. Tier 4 was like part-time bowling assistant coach.
Right.
So where they put athletic training was tier 3. So right above that part-time bowling coach, which was like a really big slap in the face because they didn't view me as, to me, they didn't view me as being like valuable or anything. So what they had me doing was working in the school from 6:30 a.m. till 2:40 p.m. as a teacher's aide. And then once the kids get out of school, so 2:40 until 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night when practices and games were done, and then do it all over again. So it was like insanely long days. And I just asked myself, I was like, why am I working 8+ hours a day doing something that I didn't get a master's degree for?
Yeah.
And like, it wasn't like, I felt like I was being degraded and it wasn't worth my time, I guess. So that didn't work out because I feel that athletic trainers shouldn't be treated like that. And if people just keep accepting those positions, it's going to give employers the thought that like, okay, this is fine to do. Like, it's fine to treat them like this. So I kind of stood up for myself and I was like, hey, like something's got to change or I'm out. And they didn't want to change. So I was out. And now I'm at Freighter and I love my job. Like, it's literally a dream come true, even though it's with high school. And I never thought in a day in my graduate degree or graduate schooling, I never thought I would say I like working with high schoolers, but they are so much fun.
Yeah.
They're so much fun. So
no,
now I'm at Freighter.
No, definitely. I think you touched on a couple good points there, especially with finding jobs right off the bat. When you look on the job boards, you look on Indeed, you see all these jobs that are, they'll pay you what, 20,000, 18,000 a year. So I think you said it was being selfish, but I think you make a really good point in that, honestly, those aren't livable wages in a lot of cases. So I think
that's before taxes.
Yeah. So I think there's a point where you do actually have to stand up for yourself there and start trying to find it, even if it means you don't find the ideal spot right away. And then we just did an episode talking about having patience and finding the job and working towards the job you want. But on the flip side of that, kind of like you said, if you're work these jobs where you're working 80 hours a week, but you're making $18,000 to $20,000 a year, well, that's not very helpful to you, and it's not very helpful to athletic training as a profession. So I think you make a couple good points there. So I guess you got to your high school, and said wasn't your ideal setting right away. Same for me. I don't know. I don't know what the future holds, but high school wasn't my favorite, but open-minded to things right now, especially with the job market being kind of what it is right now with everything just all over the place. So I guess talk a little about, you get to your high school here, you're adjusting, and you're the only athletic trainer, correct?
Correct.
All right. So talk a little bit about how that works for you with it being your first job and any challenges that you ran into with that.
Yeah. So the gentleman who was there before me, I've actually known him for like a long, long time. So I knew I had really big shoes to fill. And the first day I go in there, it was like the first day of basketball season. Cause I wasn't there for football season. I was at the other school. So the school that I'm at now, my first day was basketball season, actually the first game of the season too. So I was like, all right, like, let's just go. But it's definitely a transition as to like the way someone like, so the previous athletic trainer that was there, it's like, oh, well, he did it this way. Well, I'm not him. Like, there's a lot of things that like every athletic trainer has their own philosophy, their own theories, like things they do, things they don't do. And like it, as long as the kids get it and like you explain to them why you're changing it, they're fine. But like it's that initial change and they're like, whoa, what's that? Like, why are you doing that? Why aren't you doing like all that stuff? And then of course, like my biggest fear as my first like certified job where I was on my own was like, at least for me, like the whole like paperwork side of everything. Like going into this, I had no idea like all the background forms that go into like a pre-participation physical and permission forms working with minors and like just all the paperwork and insurance, and if they get hurt, all the injury reports you have to fill out. And I mean, every clinical rotation I've been at prior to this, it's all been like online documentation. And the place I'm at now, shockingly, doesn't do online documentation. So everything is still done by hand. So it's like filling out the good old soap note. But I kind of like that because then each kid has like their own file folder and you just pull it out and everything's there. So I think the biggest change was like getting people to buy in that even though I'm not the athletic trainer that they're used to having, like I can still do the same job and we're going to get the same results, just a different way of going about it, I guess.
Right. Yeah, no, I think you make a couple good points. So how about you elaborate a little bit on it, but any advice for any new athletic trainers coming out, they get this job, wherever it be, whether it be high school, college, any advice for them based on what you've experienced so far?
I think just like don't be afraid to make a mistake because you're going to make them. You're going to miss that ACL tear. You're going to miss that concussion, and you just have to be okay with it. Like there's no one that I know, at least, no athletic trainer out there that's never missed a diagnosis.
Right.
And I think at first I was really scared. Like I was doing these super long evals, like double checking everything and like coming home and did I make the right decision? Should I set that kid out? Should I let him play? Like stuff like that. But like, if you don't make a mistake, you're not going to learn and you're not going to grow. And I know that sounds like super cliche, but it's literally so true. Yeah. There's mistakes I've made, and now I'm like, okay, now I'll never make that mistake again because I learned from it. Right. And then it's not even like, there's been times where, you know, you miss the meniscus tear, or there's times where like, I swear your ACL is torn, or I swear this is wrong. And then they go get imaging and the doctor clears them. You're like, what? Yeah. Like me and like 3 other people think you have an ACL tear and the doctor says you're fine. So it's just, you have to make the mistakes, and that's just like part of the profession, unfortunately. But I think that's like what makes us so good at our professions, because we're always like eager to learn. Yeah, no, definitely some good points there. So I guess now we'll kind of bring it up to where we are now. When we're recording this is at the end of March. So we are, I guess, right in the middle of the corona pandemic, where a lot of things changes in athletics. A lot of all sports are pretty much canceled at this point. So athletic trainers are moving to different job responsibilities than, I guess, what we're traditionally associated with. So I guess, can you kind of explain what you're up to now with these changes occurring? So we found out March 13th. I was at track practice. I feel like this is one of those things like 9/11. Like you always know, or for me, because I'm a little bit older than you, like I remember where I was on 9/11. Like I'm going to remember where I was when we found out about a coronavirus.
Right.
We were at track practice, and we actually got an email someone saw it that like the state governor declared all schools to be closed. And we were like, what? Are you serious? And then a few hours later, we found out from the school district that schools were going to be closed. So here we are at practice, and we have to tell these kids like, we're not having practice on Monday, or we don't know when you'll be back. So the next day we were supposed to have time trials. And at this point, you know, we're saying bye to the kids, like, see you tomorrow, see you for time trials, you know, telling the seniors, like, this is probably going to be your last run, all this stuff, you know, just how everyone always leaves leaves, and you're like, oh, see you tomorrow, have a good night. And we get a email Friday night at 10:15 at night saying all sports are canceled indefinitely. And so that, like, the last time I saw my seniors was saying, all right, see you tomorrow for time trials. And then that's it. With that being said, obviously I can't be in the school doing anything with the athletes, but a lot of the athletes who are in season are doing like workouts on their own. Mm-hmm. Obviously, like, not with coaches or anything, but they're doing their own stuff outside of school. So like there's still a chance of them getting hurt, or like the kids that I was doing rehab with, like they're still going to need rehab even though they can't come in. Mm-hmm. So I've kind of like set up different ways of communicating with them. So the kids who need it have my cell phone number, and we've been able to Zoom and do like virtual rehab kind of, right. Checking in on them. And then all of the coaches have my text or have my cell phone and email, so the kids can get a hold of me, like if they're out of the baseball field and they take a ball to the shin or something, so that the kids have a way to get a hold of me if something does happen. So it's been nice to kind of have those sporadic injuries to kind of keep things normalized. Right. But I am in a physical therapy clinic, basically working as an aide. I'm cleaning tables and ordering linen, yeah, which is not the ideal job right now. But I'm thankful to have a job right now.
Yeah, definitely.
I actually said something today. And since I've started athletic training, I have not said, oh, I do not want to go to work today. And today I woke up and I said that, and I was like, that's when you know I need to be back in the school. I've never said I don't want to go to work, and since I've been athletic training, and now I finally like broke down and said it today, and I was like, oh, I never thought I'd say I want my athletes back, but I really want my athletes
yeah.
back.
No, definitely. Definitely a very weird time for everyone, whether it be athletic trainers, athletes, athletic training students. So I guess we'll kind of see where this ends up going in the next couple months, but
yeah,
definitely a tough time for a lot of people involved.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, so what we usually do here is we have the AT Chat 5. So we have 5 questions we usually ask at the end. So you ready for them?
Go for it.
All
Are
right.
they supposed to be like long answers or just like rapid fire?
They can be whatever you want. So.
All right, I'm ready.
All right, number 1, where do you see athletic training as a profession going in the next 5 to 10 years? So as we know, we have the big change to an entry-level master's. Mm-hmm. So I guess, where do you see it headed?
My view has actually changed since being in the PT clinic. Actually, a lot of the therapists didn't even know that like we have athletic trainers. So mm-hmm. Ideally, I'd like to see athletic trainers like being treated like physical therapists, just like on the field type thing. So like, you know, we can do basically everything that they can do, just in a different kind of setting. So I'd like to see that connection made more. I mean, a lot of the therapists, they're like, oh, we have a new aide. I'm like, actually, my name tag says athletic trainer, and I'm not an aide. I've done that duty before, and I can talk a little bit of rehab with you too.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see that like connection made, that, you know, we are more than just taping ankles and putting a Band-Aid on things. Like we have that master's degree, we have that extra education, we have that background and knowledge, and a lot of us do like research and are nerdy like that. So we actually know what we're talking about, not just the people on the sidelines with water. Which water is also important, but we can do more than that.
Definitely. All right. I kind of asked you this already, but we'll see if you have something else. What advice would you give to yourself actually, we'll change it. The original question would be, what advice would you give to yourself as a young athletic trainer? Kind of answered that already, but so I'll change it to, what advice would you give to a student entering a master's program?
Oh, entering a master's program?
Yep.
Ooh. I don't think you can work a job and go to school at the same time. So I actually had a student who was shadowing me during basketball season who was applying to an athletic training program. and he was asking me like, oh, is it a lot of research? Is it a lot of writing papers? Can I work? And I'm like, yes, and no.
Yeah.
So like, just like be prepared. Like it's going to be your life for that 2 years, and you just have to accept it. Like kind of everything goes on hold, but it's worth it. And if that's what you want, like you just have to push through, because like in the end it's worth it, and in the end like you're gonna end up where you want to be.
Right. No, definitely. I didn't even try the job thing. I was already being crushed, so that just wasn't going to happen for me. But all right, so here's one. What has been the most influential resource you found in your career so far, and whether that be including in school, at clinicals, or within your first year here?
I honestly think just like don't be afraid to ask questions and talk to people. So like a ton of my preceptors I'm still in contact with, and especially being the only athletic trainer at my school, like if I have a question, there's no one there with me to ask. So like I'll text my preceptor and be like, hey, I have this going on, like what do you recommend, or what do you think I should do, or do you think this is right? So like honestly, like use people as your resource, because they've been through it, and if they haven't, they probably know someone who has. Like you can read any book you want to, but let's be real, athletic training is not by the book, and it's so much like real life situations. And honestly, like just asking people questions, or just keeping in contact with them, because if you want a job and they know someone who works there, you have that much higher of a chance of getting that job. So like staying in contact with your preceptors and networking. So like if you see someone on Twitter and you like retweet their research, be like, just connect with them, like, hey, like your research was really cool, or hey, like that picture is really cool, and like, just get to know them and honestly connect, because like if we don't connect as a community, then we're just going to keep this like bad name on athletic training, and we're never going to grow as a profession if we all just kind of like try and like beat each other and like one up each other. We just need to like come together as one and just accept it.
Right. No, definitely some good advice. All right, this is usually a fun one to see, because people usually have answers that go across the board here. If you could change or eliminate one thing, whether that be a modality, a common practice, a mindset, whatever, in athletic training, what would it be?
I was talking with one of the physical therapists today, and I said, because I questioned him, because I think we all need to be questioned at times. And I said, so why did you do that? And he had a patient with a shoulder in and did something, and I wasn't doing it to be like snotty. I was doing it because I like legitimately want to know like why you had that patient do that. And he's like, well, I do it with all my shoulders. I said, but why? And I think, you'll feel this as you get more into like your career, but like you have an ankle sprain that walks through the door, and you automatically have this like set of like 3 things you're going to have them do. But in reality, like, why are we having them do that? Right. So like I think before you have an athlete or a patient or a client do anything, you need to ask yourself, why are they doing this, and what are they going to gain from it? Like, for example, I had so many athletes that walk in and they say, hey, can I do those cool boots? Like talking about Normatec boots. And I said, well, do you know what they do? Well, they make my legs feel good. Or no, I don't know what they do, but I saw so-and-so do it. Okay, well, if you don't know why you're using them, then why do you want to use them? Right?
Yeah.
So I think everyone just needs to kind of like step back and get out of the mindset of, don't get stuck in a routine. Treat each patient like it's an injury you've never seen before, and try and come up with at least one new exercise or something out of the box to just like keep it fresh. Otherwise, you're going to get so bored if you have a shoulder, a knee, and an ankle, and they're all doing the same thing that your past shoulder, knees, and ankles have done.
Yeah. No, definitely 100% agree with that. And actually, my former preceptor, who is the other co-host to this, Joel, so shout out Joel. When I had my rotation with him, he kind of introduced me to the 3 why test. So if you can explain why for 3 different reasons, like why are you doing this? Okay, why, and then why. If you can actually have like a deep enough reason, he's like, go ahead, do it. But he challenged me with that a lot actually, and it made me definitely think about why am I doing what I'm doing. So definitely 100% agree with that. Last question for you, and kind of works out because when we're recording this is the end of National Athletic Training Month. So the big one here, what does being an athletic trainer mean to you?
So this one was hard for me at first because I like wanted to come up with this like super unique answer.
Right.
But honestly, like I thought about it and I just thought back to like, I call them my kids, but my athletes, like, and what they tell me, like they call me mom, or like, oh, you're a role model, or, oh, now I want to be an athletic trainer because I saw what you're doing. So it's like being a role model to these kids, advocating for the profession, educating them about what athletic trainers actually do. You know, we're not just the person that's, oh, if you come to me, I'm going to hold you out of practice because you're hurt. You know, we're more than that. I've had girls come in my office and just cry to me because their boyfriends broke up with them. Like, it's so much more than just that physical aspect. It's that emotional support and social support that you're there for these kids. And I think if you can make that connection with them, you're going to get so much further in the physical, like how much they're willing to tell you, like, are they going to be honest with you? Are they actually hurt? You know what I mean? Like if you can gain their trust, they're going to be so much more open with you about their injuries and not try and hide things and be scared of you. And you're going to grow so much more with them and get so much more out of them.
Definitely. All right. That's all the questions we have for you. Anything else you want to share before we let you go here?
Happy National Athletic Training Month.
Yes.
It didn't really end the way we wanted it to, but, you know, we made the best of it. So definitely. My first National Athletic Training Month as a certified. So I think I got 13 good days of it. So hopefully next year we'll get a whole month.
Oh, definitely. All right. And then if people want to find you, is there a way that they can find you easiest, or Twitter, anything like that?
Twitter, let me check. I have a YouTube channel that I just started.
Definitely. Oh,
it's called what?
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, it's called The Athletic Trainer. Right now it's just a bunch of COVID-19 weekly updates and stuff like that. My Twitter is Samantha_ATC, and that's where I'm most active. Awesome.
We'll definitely throw up links for both the Twitter and the YouTube page here on the episode sheet. But no, thank you for talking. It was good to catch up there a little bit. So
yes, of course.
Yeah, thank you, and we'll see you. Hopefully, we can connect again sometime soon.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.